Here we go. The ruler of the world. Who really rules the world? Who or what is behind all what is going on? I mean, I'm not talking about the big money. I'm not talking about the Bill Gates, the Warren Buffets, or the Amazon, or the Apple, or the banks, and of course even less the states, the politicians. No, I mean, who is really ruling the world? What makes the world move? Not the world, society, human society. I think it's the ego. The ego moves the world. The egocentrism. This idea where we believe that we are the center of the universe. I really do, I mean, we really do believe this fairy tale that we are the center, that life is spinning around us. And this we can call is the ego. I like to point it very well. I like to make it really clear. The ego itself is not a problem. The ego is the functionality to be conscious about the world. We can say the ego is the function inside of us, that I know that I exist, therefore I know that the world exists. This is the most basically function as I see it. And it's beautiful. It is not about to eliminate the ego. A lot of us, the spiritual searcher, have this idea that it's about to go over the ego or to eliminate the ego, or that the ego is bad, or the ego itself is the obstacle in the path towards becoming a real human conscious being. But actually that's not the point. The function itself, the function of the ego itself have its place in the chain, in the river, better to say, in the river of existence. The problem is that we are attached to the ego. That we really deeply believe that we are only the ego. And this structure of thinking and this belief system rules the world. Because when we are attached to the ego, we are lost in the ego. We can't make a clear distinction about our true self and the functionality of the ego. This function, so we can be aware of the world. And when we actually do this, because the functionality have to create a separation. Of course, we only can know what is there when we are separated from this. So the ego is separated to see the world. It can't be different, because a knife can't cut itself. So when there's not a difference to see the world, when there will be not a separation, it's impossible to know the world. But when we forget this functionality and really enter in this belief system that we are only the ego, then we have an amazing big package of problems, which in the real world don't exist. They exist only in our minds. And this belief system rules most of us. There's always a tiny little number of people, and lately a growing number of people, they realize this, and they are working and detach themselves from the ego. It's not a question that you are detached or attached to the ego 100%. It's not a black and white thing. It's a path. You're walking, and you're getting more detached, so more you do certain kind of things. What you have to do, I mean, there's no big secret, and the way how to get detached of the ego is known. But this will be for another video. But it's there. I mean, it's the same as you like to become a doctor. You have to study for years and practice even longer to become a good doctor. And the same, not the same, because the ego probably is a little bit more complicated. It's much more easy to be a doctor. But when you follow the steps, you learn, you study, and you will become detached. Okay. But back to the thing, who rules the world? Since almost everybody is caught up in this mental prison of believing that he is the ego, he plays games like power or like victim or powerless. So, I mean, look, the actual situation, what we have with this coronavirus story going on. I mean, the whole situation, I mean, really you can say the whole planet is under a cloud of fear. But it's a psychological fear. Not a real fear. And this psychological fear is part of the attachment to the ego. When we know that we are not the ego, that the ego is only a functionality, then the psychological fear, the mental fear will disappear. It will be not there. It would be just, you see it then like you see a little boy or little child which is afraid of the dark man or of monsters. I mean, you know, it's not true. So you don't have this fear. But since we are, almost everybody of us, the big majority is caught up in the ego, they are under the slavery of mental fear. And this explains exactly what is going on. And it doesn't matter in which part of the game you are. When you are Bill Gates and this kind of people, they have the same fear because they are in the ego. Why I know they're in the ego? Because they need power. They love power. They're addicted to power. They have to say, oh, I have to do the best for everybody. I have to vaccinate the whole humanity against this virus, against sickness. Okay, I mean, this is a typical way also of thinking when you are caught up in the ego, that you know what is good for others. And even worse, when you try to force other people to adapt to your view of life, to your philosophy. But actually, there's not a big difference between the people who are not in the position of the power people. You can say, with the words of Alan Watts, this great free thinker, the other people just don't made it. they were not smart enough. But when you are in the ego and you will have the chance to do the things that the power people do, you will do the same because you're caught up in the same game. But you just don't have the power. You're a loser. And most of us anyway are loser in this game. But we are part of the game itself. So we are also ruled by the ego. Because we also have this fear. Maybe we call the fear different. But the fear, psychological fear is psychological fear. It will bring us to a chaotic emotional state where we are just being victim about the inputs from the outside world. We have no control at all about our response to what is happening. And that is what rules the world. We have made progress in the last 200 years, amazing progress. Especially when we talk about individual freedom, free speech, human rights, and this kind of stuff. That's definitely true. And there is a direction in life to become more conscious. But the price, when you see it on the whole scale, is we are destroying nature for our own personal freedom. Because our personal freedom, our individual freedom, it moves by this underlying feeling of fear that I will not have enough freedom for myself. We are pushed forward in a railway way somehow to solve problems. The ego always is solving problems. You know, for the ego itself, I mean, we're talking about the ego, the attached ego, not the detached, the attached ego, not the ego itself. For the attached ego, life is basically a problem what we have to solve. What we see actually now in the crisis we have. Where is the problem? Really, where is the problem? The problem is that we can die. And so what? We will die anyway. Everybody of us. Death is not a problem. Diseases are not problems. There are things that happens, and sometimes we die and sometimes we don't die. Anyway, when you are out of the ego, you're much stronger in every sense, because in this way of thinking, believing that you are the ego, amazing a lot of energy is stuck. It holds down there, because to maintain this way of thinking you need energy, and this energy you later don't have, for example, to build up your immune system. I mean, and you see it really clear in now in the coronavirus issue. Most people that die, they have really a low immune system. Okay, so we have. Meanwhile, we don't realize who really rules the world. We just shift problems from one point to another. We gain a progress, and on the other hand, a distraction. I invite you to reflect about yourself. How you feel inside. Not how you think, how you feel inside. Now you have the time, anyway. How much fear is inside of you? Or how much serenity, or how much peace inside of you? How you get up in the morning? How you handle this situation, what it's now? And your body will answer you. And there you feel who rules in your life. As I said, there's the inside world, there's the outside world. They only can go together. But meanwhile, the inside world is not working well. It doesn't matter how beautiful you will shape, or we will shape the outside world. It will always be experienced from the point of view what you have inside. And when we are attached to the ego, we always will be inside of this fear game, of this psychological fear. It can't be different. You can't solve this problem. That is why the ego is the ruler of the world. The question is, are we willing to let go? Are we really willing to leave behind this, the structure where our life is built on? It's not easy. We have lived all our lives this way. Our whole society is built upon this idea. It is maybe the most difficult thing what we can do in our life. It's much more easy to be a millionaire or to become a superstar or whatever. Much more easy. I don't know, I'm not a superstar, I'm not a millionaire, so actually I don't know, but the structure itself, I mean, to become a successful person in the world, you don't have really to modify your inside. You really don't have to go over yourself. You just play the game better than the others. So to do this will change the world, to detach from the ego. And then we will have no ruler at all anymore. Because when we start to really step out of the ego, there's no need anymore for ruling. Because we are in touch with the natural flow of existence. And when we're really in touch with this natural flow, we have no need to harm anybody. We have no need to harm ourselves. There's no guilt, no fear. And when there's no guilt, no fear, and all this negative package, you don't need to rule. Because things like wars and conflict will just not happen. I mean, of course, not everything will be just beautiful. There will be problems, there will be issues to solve, but there will be issues to solve. Things what we have to do. And then the nature will talk over. We don't have to be anymore the center of it. The process of homeostasis will operate and we will go together with it. We will play a main part, of course, but we really deeply understand that we don't move life. We move with life. Thank you. Karsten Ramser, EPROJECT.